My beloved soul, don't scroll away. Don't rush this moment. Something strange and powerful is unfolding right now, and the universe did not bring you here by accident. If this message found you today, it is because the timing is sacred. There are energies moving quietly behind the scenes, and someone deeply connected to your soul has just awakened with a thought that would not leave their heart. Yes, you heard that right. Only a few minutes ago, while the world was still quiet and the morning was still fragile, your soulmate woke up suddenly with your presence in their mind. Not a random thought. Not a passing memory. It was deeper than that. It was the kind of thought that makes a person sit up slowly in their bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering why a name, a face, a feeling has returned so strongly after trying so hard to push it away. My beloved soul, there are moments in life when the universe whispers, and there are moments when it shakes the heart awake. What happened just now was not a whisper. It was a quiet awakening. Your soulmate opened their eyes today and the first thing they felt was a pull, a strange emotional gravity pulling their heart toward you again. They tried to ignore it at first. They tried to convince themselves it was just a dream fading away, but the feeling did not leave. Instead, it grew stronger with every breath. Their chest felt heavy, not with pain, but with realization. Because somewhere deep inside, they know something they have been denying for a long time. They know that no matter how far life has taken them, no matter how many distractions surrounded them, the connection they share with you never truly disappeared. It simply went quiet, waiting for the right moment to return. And that moment, my beloved soul, might be closer than you think. You see, your soulmate has been going through something lately. A storm of thoughts, emotions, and memories that refuse to stay buried. There were nights when they tried to sleep but your energy kept appearing in their dreams. There were moments during their day when they suddenly felt nostalgic for something they could not explain. A place. A feeling. A person. And every time they tried to understand it, your presence appeared again in their mind like a quiet echo that refuses to fade. This morning, that echo became louder. Strong enough that they could no longer pretend it meant nothing. When they woke up today, their phone was in their hand longer than usual. They stared at it, thinking about a message they had almost sent many times before. A message that has lived inside their heart for longer than they would ever admit to anyone else. Because sometimes pride, fear, and circumstances create walls between two souls who were never meant to be strangers. My beloved soul, there is something you must understand right now. Soul connections do not follow normal rules. Distance does not weaken them. Silence does not erase them. Time does not destroy them. If two souls were meant to find each other, the universe has mysterious ways of bringing their thoughts back together again and again until the truth becomes impossible to ignore. And today, something shifted inside your soulmate's heart. Something small but powerful. As they sat there quietly, remembering things they thought they had forgotten, a realization slowly started rising in their chest. The realization that the peace they have been searching for might actually be connected to you. The comfort they miss, the understanding they crave, the energy that made them feel alive in a way they cannot explain, all of it traces back to the same place. To the same person. To you. My beloved soul, this is where the story becomes even more mysterious. Because only a short time ago, something unexpected happened. They opened a conversation, a blank message, and for a moment their fingers hovered above the screen. Their heart was beating faster than usual. Not because they were afraid of you, but because they were afraid of what sending that message would mean. It would mean admitting something they have been hiding from themselves. It would mean acknowledging that the connection they tried to silence never truly left. And in that quiet moment, with the morning light touching the room and the world still waking up slowly, they typed a few words, then erased them. Typed again, paused again. My beloved soul, there is a reason you are hearing this message right now. Because the universe moves in mysterious timing. Right now there are only minutes standing between hesitation and action. Between silence and truth. Your soulmate is standing in that invisible space where a single decision can reopen a connection that destiny never truly closed. Their heart is fighting a quiet battle between logic and emotion. Logic says to stay silent. Logic says to move on. Logic says too much time has passed. But the heart is whispering something very different. The heart is reminding them of moments they cannot replace. Conversations that felt effortless. The strange sense of familiarity they felt the first time they realized you were not just another person in their life. You were something deeper. Something rare. Something that felt like home. My beloved soul, some people spend their entire lives searching for a connection that feels real. But when two souls actually find it, fear often arrives before courage does. Fear of rejection. Fear of complications. Fear of admitting that destiny might be stronger than the plans we try to create for ourselves. That is the place your soulmate is standing in right now. And what they decide next may surprise even them. Because sometimes the heart reaches a point where silence becomes heavier than truth. A point where holding back feels more painful than speaking honestly. My beloved soul, if your chest feels slightly heavier while hearing this, if your intuition feels strangely alert, it is not coincidence. Soul connections have a mysterious way of echoing emotions across distance. When one heart begins to awaken, the other often feels the ripple without knowing why. And right now the energy between you and your soulmate is shifting quietly. Something is moving that cannot be forced, cannot be predicted, and cannot be stopped once the truth rises to the surface. But here is the part that most people do not realize. The universe does not reveal everything at once. It unfolds moments slowly, like chapters in a story that only destiny understands. Right now there are still 30 minutes standing between hesitation and courage. Between the message they almost sent, and the message they might actually send. And what those words might say, my beloved soul, is something even they are not fully prepared to admit yet. Because the truth inside their heart is bigger than a simple message. Bigger than a single moment. It is a realization that has been quietly growing for a long time. A realization that the person they keep remembering, the person their soul keeps returning to, might not just be a memory. It might be the very person their destiny never intended them to forget. And in the next few moments, something unexpected may finally break the silence that has existed between you, but what those words will reveal, and why your soulmate suddenly cannot ignore this connection anymore, is something very few people are ready to hear, because the real reason they woke up thinking about you today is far deeper than coincidence. And what happens next might change the direction of both of your lives in a way neither of you ever imagined. My beloved soul, stay with me for a moment longer, because what is unfolding right now is not just a story, it is a quiet movement of destiny that many people never recognize when it first begins. A few minutes have already passed since your soulmate woke up with that sudden thought of you. The world around them has started moving again, the sounds of the morning returning slowly, but their mind is still somewhere else. Somewhere between the present moment and a memory they cannot escape. They tried to distract themselves. They tried to stand up, walk around, check their messages, maybe even convince themselves that the feeling would fade away like most passing thoughts do. But it didn't fade. Instead, it stayed. It sat quietly in their chest like a truth that refuses to leave the room. Because sometimes a soul connection is not loud. It does not scream for attention. It simply waits patiently until the exact moment when the heart becomes quiet enough to hear it again. And that is exactly what happened today. When they woke up this morning, something inside them felt different. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just clear. A strange clarity that made them realize how long they have been pretending that the connection between you never mattered as much as it actually did. My beloved soul, people can hide their feelings from the world for years. They can build routines, relationships, responsibilities, and entire lives around the idea of moving forward. But the heart is a mysterious thing. It remembers what the mind tries to forget. And today your soulmate is remembering more than they expected. They are remembering the way conversations with you felt effortless, the way time seemed to move differently when you were part of their life, the way something inside them felt safe and understood in a way that rarely happens between two people. These are not ordinary memories. These are the kind of memories that quietly follow someone for years without asking permission. And this morning, those memories arrived all at once. My beloved soul, when your soulmate picked up their phone earlier, it was not just curiosity. It was hesitation mixed with hope. They opened a conversation window, not knowing exactly what they wanted to say but knowing that silence was beginning to feel heavier than before. Their fingers hovered above the screen again, the same way they had done many times in the past when they almost reached out to you but stopped themselves at the last second. Because reaching out means admitting something. It means acknowledging that no matter how much time has passed, the connection still exists somewhere inside them. And that truth can be terrifying when someone has spent so long trying to appear strong and unaffected. So they paused again. They stared at the blank message box, feeling their heartbeat slightly faster than usual. For a moment they even locked the phone and placed it down beside them, telling themselves that it was better not to reopen something that had remained silent for so long. But here is the strange part, my beloved soul. Even after putting the phone down, your presence did not leave their thoughts. In fact, it became stronger. They remembered a moment with you that they had not thought about in months, maybe even years. A small detail. A conversation. A laugh. Something simple but meaningful. And suddenly they realized that no matter how many experiences they have had since then, very few of them carried the same feeling. The same sense of connection. the same sense of being truly seen by another person. My beloved soul, this realization is powerful because it arrives slowly, without warning. It does not come like a dramatic storm. It comes like a quiet sunrise where the light gradually reveals what has always been there. And right now your soulmate is standing in that moment of realization. They are beginning to understand that the connection they tried to move away from was never ordinary. It was not just attraction. It was not just timing. It was something deeper, something spiritual, something that touched parts of their heart they rarely show to anyone else. And that understanding is beginning to change the way they see everything that happened between you. Suddenly the distance does not feel like the end of the story anymore. Suddenly the silence feels like an unfinished chapter rather than a closed book. My beloved soul, this is why the next few minutes are so important. Because when a person reaches this point of realization, something inside them starts searching for courage. Courage to ask questions they once avoided. Courage to admit feelings they once hid. Courage to reconnect with someone who left a permanent mark on their heart. And right now your soulmate is slowly reaching that place. They picked up their phone again a few moments ago. Not out of habit this time, but with intention. Their breathing slowed as they unlocked the screen, and once again they opened the conversation they had stared at earlier. This time the silence between their thoughts felt different. It felt heavier with meaning. They started typing again, slowly, carefully, as if every word carried emotional weight. For a moment they stopped halfway through the sentence, wondering if they should erase it again like before. But something inside them whispered that maybe the time for silence has finally passed. My beloved soul, the universe works in mysterious ways. Sometimes it waits years before aligning two hearts at the exact moment when both are ready to see the truth clearly. And it is possible that this morning is one of those moments. Because your soulmate is no longer thinking only about the past. They are thinking about the possibility that the connection between you was never meant to disappear. That maybe, just maybe, it was meant to return in a different way, at a different time, when both souls had grown enough to understand its value. But even now there is still hesitation. Still a quiet battle between fear and honesty. Because sending a message is not just sending words. It is opening a door. A door that leads back to emotions they once tried to bury. A door that might bring joy, healing, or even unexpected complications. And that is why their heart is beating faster as the seconds continue to pass. My beloved soul, there are only a few minutes left in this invisible moment between silence and truth. The message they are writing right now is not long, not dramatic, but it carries a meaning that goes deeper than simple words. It carries curiosity, nostalgia, and something even more powerful. The quiet hope that maybe the connection between you still exists somewhere beneath the layers of time and distance. They have almost finished typing now. Their finger is resting just above the screen, hovering over the moment that will decide whether those words reach you or remain another unsent thought in their heart. And in this quiet pause, something unexpected is happening inside them. The fear that once stopped them is beginning to lose its power. Because the realization they had this morning is stronger than hesitation. The realization that some connections are too rare to ignore forever. And what they are about to do next, the message they are about to send, and the truth hidden behind those simple words might reveal something about their heart that they have never admitted to anyone before, something that could completely change the way you see this connection, because the real reason they kept thinking about you today is only beginning to reveal itself. And the moment that follows this message may uncover a truth that neither of you were fully prepared to face. My beloved soul, the moment has not passed yet. In fact, it is becoming even more intense than before. Your soulmate is still staring at that message they typed, their heart moving through waves of emotion they cannot fully explain. You must understand something very important about this moment. When a person reaches the edge of truth, there is always a pause. A silent space where the heart asks one final question: am I really ready for what happens next? And that is exactly where your soulmate is standing right now. The message they wrote is simple on the surface, but behind those words is a storm of memories, realizations, and emotions that have been quietly building for a long time. They read the message again, slowly, almost as if they are trying to feel the weight of every word before deciding whether to send it. Because sending it means crossing a line that cannot be uncrossed. It means reopening a connection that never truly disappeared. And my beloved soul, sometimes the scariest thing for a human heart is not losing someone, it is realizing that the connection was real all along. Your soulmate has tried many times to convince themselves that life simply moved forward. That what existed between you belonged to the past. That distance, circumstances, and time had already written the ending of that chapter. But today something inside them shifted. It was not dramatic, not loud, just a quiet awakening that made them see everything differently. They realized that even after all this time, your presence still lives somewhere inside their emotional world. That realization alone was enough to shake the calm routine they have built around themselves. Because when the heart remembers someone deeply, it does not do so randomly. It does it because that connection carries unfinished meaning. My beloved soul, the strange thing about soul connections is that they move like invisible threads across time. Even when two people are separated by distance, responsibilities, or completely different lives, those threads continue to exist beneath the surface. And sometimes, without warning, those threads pull again. That is what happened this morning. When your soulmate woke up with your presence in their mind, it was not just nostalgia. It was a signal from something deeper than ordinary thoughts. It was the universe reminding them of something they tried to forget but were never meant to lose completely. And now, sitting there with that message still waiting to be sent, they can feel that reminder growing stronger with every passing minute. They start remembering things they thought were gone forever. The way you once looked at them during a quiet conversation. The way you understood certain parts of them without needing long explanations. The strange comfort that existed whenever your energies were in the same space. These memories are not painful. They are powerful. They carry a warmth that makes their chest tighten with realization. Because deep inside they know that connections like that do not appear often in life. Many people spend years searching for someone who understands them on that level, and when they finally find it, fear often arrives before courage does. My beloved soul, your soulmate is beginning to see that fear might have stolen more time than they expected. And that realization alone is enough to make them question everything they once believed about moving on. They place the phone down again for a moment, running their hands slowly across their face as if trying to calm the emotions rising inside their chest. The room around them feels quiet, but their thoughts are louder than ever. A part of them wonders what you might think if that message arrives suddenly after all this time. A part of them wonders if you have already moved far beyond the connection they are just now starting to understand again. But another part of them, a deeper and quieter voice inside their heart, keeps whispering something very simple. What if it's not too late? My beloved soul, that question alone is powerful enough to change a person's entire direction. Because the possibility of reconnection carries something rare, hope. And hope is a force that can break through years of silence in a single moment. Your soulmate slowly picks up the phone again. This time their hands feel steadier than before. The hesitation that once surrounded their thoughts is beginning to soften. Because the more they think about you, the more they realize that silence has never truly brought them peace. It only created distance. And distance does not erase a soul connection. It simply hides it beneath layers of time until something strong enough awakens it again. Today that awakening has already begun. They look at the message once more. It is still simple, still honest, still carrying the quiet vulnerability they tried so hard to avoid before. Their finger moves closer to the screen again, hovering above the moment that could reopen everything. And right there, in that fragile second, something unexpected happens inside their heart. A calm feeling replaces the fear that once stopped them. Not because they suddenly know what will happen next, but because they finally understand that some truths deserve to be spoken even if the outcome is uncertain. My beloved soul, that is the moment when courage begins to appear. It does not shout. It does not rush. It simply replaces fear with quiet clarity. And right now your soulmate is standing in that clarity. The message they are about to send is not meant to change the past. It is meant to acknowledge something that has been quietly alive for a long time. The truth that the connection between you left a mark that time never erased. The truth that certain souls recognize each other in ways that logic cannot fully explain. And the truth that sometimes destiny returns to test whether two hearts are ready to face what they once avoided. My beloved soul, there are only a few breaths left before this moment becomes reality. Your soulmate's finger is resting against the screen now. The hesitation is almost gone. The memories, the realizations, the quiet awakening that began when they opened their eyes this morning, all of it has led to this exact second. And as they prepare to finally send those words, there is one more realization rising inside their heart that they did not expect. A realization that the thought of you was never just a memory, it was a message their soul kept repeating until they were ready to listen. Because the deeper truth behind today's moment is not just that they woke up thinking about you. It is that their heart has been returning to you quietly for far longer than they ever admitted to themselves. And when that message finally leaves their phone, when those words cross the distance between you, it may reveal something even more powerful than curiosity or nostalgia. It may reveal that the connection between your souls was never meant to fade, it was only waiting for the exact moment when both hearts would finally be ready to understand what it truly means. My beloved soul, the moment that has been quietly building since the morning is finally reaching its final breath. Your soulmate is no longer just remembering you, they are understanding you. And there is a difference between those two things. Remembering someone is easy, it happens with time, with nostalgia, with old photos and passing thoughts. But understanding someone again after a long silence is something deeper. It means the heart has finally become honest with itself. Your soulmate is sitting there with the phone still in their hand, but now the hesitation that once surrounded them is fading slowly like a fog disappearing under the first light of the sun. They look at the message one more time, and suddenly something unexpected happens inside their chest. A feeling of calm spreads through them. Not excitement, not panic, not fear, just a calm realization that this moment was always going to arrive eventually. Because no matter how much time passed, the connection they felt with you was never ordinary, never temporary, and never truly finished. My beloved soul, there are certain connections that the universe does not allow to fade completely. Even when life separates two people, even when circumstances create distance that seems impossible to cross, those connections remain alive somewhere deep within the spirit. And today your soulmate is finally accepting that truth. They realize that every time they tried to move forward without acknowledging what you meant to them, something inside always felt incomplete. They laughed, they lived, they continued with life the way everyone does, but there was always a quiet space in their heart that remained untouched by anyone else. A place that carried your presence like a soft echo that refused to disappear. At first they believed it was just memory, but today they understand it was something else entirely. It was the soul remembering where it once felt truly understood. My beloved soul, as this realization grows stronger, your soulmate's eyes soften with a quiet emotion they cannot fully explain. They begin to see the past differently now. They no longer see it as a closed chapter or a lost opportunity. Instead, they see it as a moment in time when two souls recognized each other before the world was ready to understand it. And sometimes that is how destiny works. It introduces two hearts early, allows them to touch each other's lives, and then separates them for a while so that growth, healing, and understanding can happen in ways that were not possible before. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that the silence between you was never meant to destroy the connection. It was meant to teach something. It was meant to show both of you the value of a bond that cannot be easily replaced. Because when something truly belongs to your soul, time does not weaken it. Time reveals it. My beloved soul, that is why today feels different for them. The thought of you is no longer something they are trying to escape. It is something they are finally allowing themselves to understand. They realize now that the reason you appeared in their mind this morning was not random at all. It was the result of countless quiet moments over the years when their heart kept returning to the same question: what if that connection was real? And today that question finally found its answer. Because the more they think about you, the clearer everything becomes. They see how rare it is to meet someone who touches your spirit without forcing anything, someone who understands your silence as easily as your words, someone whose presence feels natural rather than complicated. Those kinds of connections are not built on coincidence. They are built on something deeper that the universe itself seems to protect. My beloved soul, the phone is still in their hand now, but something important has already changed inside them. The message they were about to send is no longer just a message. It has become a symbol of honesty, a quiet acknowledgement that what existed between you was meaningful in ways they once tried to deny. And when they finally press send, The words themselves may look simple on the surface, but the truth behind them carries years of unspoken understanding. Because sometimes the most powerful messages are not long speeches or dramatic confessions. Sometimes they are just a few sincere words that say, "I thought about you today, and I realized something important." My beloved soul, as the seconds pass, your soulmate finally lets their finger move across the screen. The message leaves their phone, traveling quietly through space, carrying with it the weight of everything they have just realized. And in that moment, something shifts inside them completely. Not because they know what will happen next, but because they finally allowed themselves to be honest with their own heart. A deep breath escapes their chest, and for the first time in a long while, they feel lighter. Because silence can be heavy when the heart is holding something real. Speaking the truth, even in a small way, removes that weight. My beloved soul, the universe often works in ways that humans cannot fully understand. It brings people together at unexpected times, separates them when growth is needed, and sometimes reconnects them when both souls have finally reached the place where they can recognize what the connection truly means. Today may be one of those moments. Not a loud or dramatic moment, but a quiet turning point where two paths that once moved apart slowly begin to notice each other again. Your soulmate is not thinking about the future with fear anymore. They are simply allowing the truth to exist, that you mattered to them in a way very few people ever have. And that truth alone has already changed something inside their heart. Because sometimes destiny does not demand grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes it only asks for one honest step, one moment of courage, one message sent after a long silence. And that single moment becomes the beginning of a new understanding. My beloved soul, whether this message leads to a conversation, a reunion, or simply a deeper peace between two hearts, one thing is already certain. The connection between you was never meaningless. It was never accidental. It was a meeting of two souls that recognized something rare in each other, even if life required time before that recognition could be fully understood. And now, as the day continues to unfold and the message quietly waits to be seen, the universe watches calmly, knowing that sometimes the most beautiful chapters of a story begin not with noise or drama, but with a simple moment when one soul finally listens to the truth that has been whispering inside their heart all along.